There came a point in my life when I knew I had to change it. So I took a chance, sold and gave away everything that I owned to experience a new life living out on the canals and rivers of the UK. So I'd like you to come along and experience it with me every step of the way. Just warming up the engine, ready to tackle the Hatton lock flight on my own, and a boat came by, and the nice couple invited me to come along with them, which was lovely, and a bit of luck. I better hurry up and catch up. Don't want to upset them straight away, do I? I'll show you what we're up against in the Pearson Canal Companion. In the last episode we got just past Warwick and the Saltisford Arm. We moored up somewhere here. Then we've got to do all these locks. It's not as many as I said in the last episode. I was getting a bit carried away. There's 21 locks in the lock flight. And we're going to end up somewhere near the village of Hatton. It was nice of that couple to invite me along with them, because they knew I was on my own and I'd probably slow them up a bit, but that's what people are like out here, or 99% of them. Fantastic people. He's got the right idea. It's like having your own personal painting dock. I wish I'd have thought of it. They're still waiting for me there, and they've got all the lock ready. Let's hope the rest of the flight goes like this. I doubt it though, knowing me. Something always goes wrong. Their two little dogs are looking cosy and comfortable there on the roof. I couldn't trust Ashby to do that. He'd be running across the boats and out the lock. But I wouldn't change him though. He is a bit of a character. I'm going to get out the boat and try and help out as much as I can. It's slippery on the roof here. I'm starting to look like a right old man, aren't I? We had a little chat of the best way to get through these locks, and I was told it'd be better for me to go back on the boat. It's definitely a bit slippery up here on this roof where I've just painted it. I tried to leave it a bit rough and not brush it out, but I don't think it's worked. When there's a bit of moisture there, I'm all over the place.
I got sent back.
The couple on the other boat are called Ray and Gwen, short for Guinevere, and they come all the way from the USA and they're living over here on their narrowboat, which is called Guinevere. The plan is Gwen is going to go up there and set the other lock up, and me and Ray will open the gates, get the boats out, close the gates, drop the paddles, which seems a very good plan. And on this first lock, there were some chaps walked around, were having their lunch break, sitting on the lock gates, and they said they'd close them for us. So I've really lucked out. I'm going to let Ray go first, because they've got a little system that they're used to of how they get in the locks and what they do. But yeah, it's turned out a nice day, weather wise, which can't be bad. You have to put up with a little bit of condensation on the camera lens, but don't worry, it does get better. There was a viewer of the channel called Ian, who very kindly offered to drive up and crew for me and get through the locks. But I decided to have a go on my own. It's very kind of you, Ian. Thank you so much for the offer. And as you can see, so far I've been lucky. I asked Ray what them flags was on the back of his boat. I'll let him explain.
Hello, I've been lucky enough to meet Ray and Gwen. They've been helping me through the locks. And Ray has got something to tell you about a charity that he's involved in. Tell him, Ray.
So my name's Ray Lewis. I'm a soldier, a U.S. soldier. I spent 34 years in the Army. When I retired, I happened to look on a LinkedIn site. I noticed a fellow U.S. soldier living in the UK and working with a charity called the Spearhead Foundation. So I contacted Mike and I asked him about the charity and what he was doing in the UK, and he explained he had married a British citizen, and he ran into a guy named Craig who was from 2nd Rifles, thought to be killed in combat with the rest of his troops, but he survived. Spent months in the hospital. He suffered brain PTS, survivor's guilt, even attempted suicide. Then he came up with this plan to get fellow soldiers together to help. It's called what we call a tribe, bringing soldiers and first responders, so fire, police, and ambulance together through events that we host, and it helps them reach out to the tribe and hopefully survive one more day. It's called the Spearhead Foundation, based out of Manchester. His office is near Media Center. And again, any veterans or first responders are welcome to stop by, see what we offer. It's a great charity, and that's why my wife and I are here.
Lovely. Well, thanks for telling us that, Ray. And I'll leave how to get in contact with Ray in the description. Thanks, Ray.
Look at Gwen up there, working like a Trojan. She's definitely drew the short straw. But she's like perpetual motion. I haven't seen her stop. Gwen's walked up to the next lock now. And it's time for me and Ray to do a little bit. And I mean a little bit compared to what Gwen's doing. I've gone up there without the windlass. Forget me head if it wasn't screwed on. Don't want to let the side down, so I must remember next time. I was going to pull H or Aitch out of the lock by the centre line, but I soon gave that up as a bad idea. I've just noticed that Ray's got a prosthetic leg. He must have suffered in the army. But of the way he's moving about, if he didn't have shorts on, I would have never have known. He's getting about faster than I am. But then again, I do take it steady around locks nowadays. I'm not as athletic as I used to be. Right, all the gates are shut and we're off again. There's quite a gap between the first few locks on this flight, but as you get higher, the locks steadily get closer until they're right on top of each other. It's quite pretty up here as we're going into the countryside. Speaking to Ray, they're on a mission to get to the Llangollen Canal, which is a fair old distance away from where we are at the moment. But looking at how they work, I don't think it'll take them long. They seem to have it all off pat. They've got these locks sorted out and their system on how to do it. Can you imagine me trying to come up here on my own? Setting all the locks up, closing them, opening them. I'd have just about done the first lock by now, I think. So I really appreciate what Ray and Gwen has done here, because I've been more or less a passenger really, and they've had to do extra work to carry me along. There's boats coming out of this lock, so I'm going to hang about here, and Ray has jumped off the boat up on the lock landing and let them pass. I don't plan to do all the locks today. I'm going to stop after this one near a shell garage where I can get some basic supplies and stay there for a couple of days. Whilst I was moored here, I bumped into Richard, who moored his boat near mine, who I've met further back down the canal, and we're going to attempt to do the rest of the locks together. And it looks like I've lucked out again, because we've got a few lock volunteers up here. Someone up there's looking after me, I think. I bet they're thinking, oh, I can't let that poor old sod do all these on his own. So yeah, really lucky.
No, no problem. A bit wet on the top there.
And what's even more fantastic is the lock volunteers just give me his sweatshirt and said, can I look after it, and he'll get it back at the top of the locks. So it looks like we've got these lock volunteers all the way up. What a result! I'm pulling Aitch over to one side to give Richard some room to bring his boat in. I'll probably stay up here now until the locks are done. Here he comes. Me and Richard have been bumping into each other as we've been going along now for the last couple of months. So we've got quite friendly. And Ashby loves Richard. I think he'd rather live with Richard than me. Where Richard's always out and doing something round his boat, I think Ashby finds him fascinating. As soon as he comes off of Aitch, he's looking for Richard. You can see when these paddles are operated, how it affects the boat sometimes. Looks like I'm going to smash into the gate and I can't pull it and stop it. So I'm going to tie around the bollard. Oh, I've slipped off. Hurry up. Just managed to stop Aitch before it smashed into the gates there. But yeah, just shows you, doesn't it? Got a feeling that this is going to turn into an epic vlog. Lengthwise, I mean. I'm going to show you as much of these locks as I can. Obviously I won't show you them all, as we'll be here from now till doomsday. But yeah, I'll show you as much as I can so you get a good feel for it. And I reckon by the end of this video, instead of counting sheep to make yourself go to sleep, you'll be counting locks. And I've invented a new sleep system, I think. Now hopefully you'll stick with it, because there's still quite a lot of interesting things to see as we go. And while I'm out here, I take things for granted. But just have a look at the trees as they're starting to change colour. Beautiful time of the year when the sun shines, isn't it? Don't know what Richard's doing up there. Oh, he's opening the lock gate for me with his barge pole. And that takes a bit of doing, a bit of strength. If he can do that, he's a strong old boy. I think one of the lock volunteers is gone to get some coffees for them. So there's no one over the other side. Looks like he's done it. Well done, mate. Just looked at Ashby, and I can understand dog language. He said, "That's my Richard." Richard's got bow thrusters on his boat, so it's best if he goes in the locks first, because he's got more of a chance of keeping the boat over to one side. With me, I'll have to jump out and pull it over. It looks like there's a few clouds building up there. Fingers crossed we don't get any rain. Because I know I hate to say it, but we've been so lucky, or I have, going up these locks so far. I won't put a buck on it. Where I come from, that means I don't want to tempt fate. Sorry about my bad English, but I can't help it from where I come from. I keep having to try to remember to speak proper English, because not a lot of people speak like what I do. But I always think it's best to be yourself and don't put on any airs and graces. Just speaking to the lock volunteer, we did exchange names, but I'm really bad with remembering names. He's saying they might take their lunch break, they're not sure, and if we want we can pull over and wait for them to come back, but we'll see what happens. Very tight for space getting two boats in these locks. You've got a couple of inches each side, so you do try not to scrape each other's blacking off as you're going in. When you get the odd bump, because we're not perfect. But yeah, so far so good. Can you see Richard over there? Yeah, there he is. I bet you want to go over there with him, don't you? Yes. He said Richard can open lock gates with his barge pole. You can't. Looks like the locks in front of us are all on top of each other, going up a bit of a steeper hill. Richard's gone, but my gate's still shut. We'll have to jump out and open it and help the lock keepers out, or the lock volunteers. I've gone out without a windlass again, but the volunteer said he'll drop the paddle. Ashby just said, Richard don't forget his windlass. I'm getting fed up with you, Ash. I can see me and you falling out if you don't shut up about Richard. I'm going to ask a favour of you. Those of you that are subscribed to the channel, can you check that you're still subscribed? Because I've had people getting in touch telling me they've been unsubscribed. Also, my views, I can hardly get over 2,000 views now on a video, where I averaged, up until the last 10, about 12,000 or more every video. So, if you're not subscribed and you like my stuff, please subscribe. Really helps me out. And also, click on the thumbs up. Try and get my videos out there again, because I'm not sure what's happened with YouTube, but they don't seem to be showing me like they used to. Yeah, so if you can, give us a little hand and see if we can get back to how we used to be. I think most of you know by now, but gongoozlers are people that like watching boats going through locks. Strange old name, isn't it? I've just had another bit of luck. The lock volunteers are going to have their dinner break or their lunch break a bit later and take us all the way to the top. I'm not used to having all this luck. Don't want to use it all up. Have you noticed that the locks are getting closer together? I think after this one, they're more or less on top of each other. Me and Richard have decided to do some different tactics on these ones, and probably to the end of the flight. What we're going to do is try to come out side by side and go in the locks side by side when they're so close. Let's see how that works out. And this first one we tried it on didn't go too well. It was through no fault of our own. If you watch Richard's boat, he starts veering to the right and stopping. He's actually bottomed out on the mud and he's pushed me over. He's stuck there and I've got to do a bit of manoeuvring to go round him and into the lock. Just managed to squeeze past that bit of concrete there. That's about as exciting as narrowboating gets. If you want narrowboating excitement, this ain't the channel for you. Richard's managed to get himself out of the mud with his barge pole. Richard works wonders with that barge pole. And Ashby, you can keep quiet. There's even more lock volunteers turned up now. I think they've come to help their mates get us to the top so they can all have their dinner break together.
Oh, right, too late.
Let's see how this one goes. sticking as close together as we can. I'm trying to nudge Richard over a little bit because he's pushing me to the right. That one looks like it's gone okay, doesn't it? Much better. And quicker, I'd say. I've lost count on how many locks we've done and how many we've got to go. It can't be too much more now, because we've been at it for a while. The lock volunteers on this flight have got to be fit, or it makes them fit, because they walk a few miles every day and they're pulling and pushing and winding. It's not an easy game doing that, but when they get home after a day doing this, I bet they don't have much trouble sleeping. I'd like to thank the people that bought me a coffee. It's much appreciated. And also the members on the Buy Me a Coffee app, where the link is in the description. Right, back to this now. I can see that we're not too far from the top now, because if you look up to the left, you'll see like a grey building. That's the CRT offices. It's obviously where the volunteers go and have their lunch break. And I can remember from looking about earlier, it's only 3 locks from here to the end. I think it's 2 after this one. Then I'm going to take Richard over to the cafe that's at the top, and I'll treat him to a cream tea. Now, I think I was mistaken. It's 2 after this one, because there's a lock right on top of the offices here. We've definitely got spoilt with all these lock volunteers, and they've earned their lunch break today. The ones that come up with us anyway. Don't know about the others. One of the kind lock keepers that's helped us up today has got a website about the canals, and where he's helped us, I'll see if I can help him promote it a bit.
I'm Chris.
Chris, I'm Vince.
Hi Vince.
What have you got there?
Well, I've got here a web address of my Canal culture website, www.locksandroses.com. So if anybody's interested.
Okay, well I'll put that in the description for the viewers.
Yeah.
And you've got a little shop on there as well, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a link on there to my Etsy shop, selling selling mugs and t-shirts.
Lovely.
So still work in progress, but we're getting there. So you know, every little helps, as they say.
Well, thanks for all your help. What you've done getting us up here.
My pleasure.
And I'll put them. I'll put that on the description of the video.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
See you later.
Cheers.
We're in the penultimate lock now, and you can see the cafe
tell you what, you've made that so easy for us. I really weren't looking forward to that. It's a lovely cafe there. When I get past this lock, which I think is the last one, I'm going to come back with Richard, the other boater there. We can have a nice cream tea. So that'll be lovely. Right, we're in the last lock. And all them lock volunteers have made it so easy. There's also some facilities up here as well, which like rubbish dumping is the main one. So much rubbish in the well deck, so that'll be a relief to get rid of that. Thanks for all your help, really appreciate it.
There's two boats waiting to come in the lock, and they're on the facilities point at the moment. So we'll do a little bit of a shuffle up, which is going to reverse back, and I'll go in behind him. The jobs are done. It's time for some cream teas. Very quaint in here. You can actually buy a lot of these things they've got hanging on the rafters there. Cream teas to me are like donuts to Homer Simpson. Mmm. Got to find somewhere to moor now. These moorings on the left here are all private. So Richard's been up here before. He said he knows a place not too far away. It's quite peaceful. So I'm going to follow Richard up, which I'm sure will make Ashby happy. There's an interesting boat coming up here on the right. Harry New it's called. And the fellow on there, perhaps his name's Harry, he makes all the rope fenders and button fenders and everything else, and sells them from his boat.
How you going, alright? See them ducks?
I think Ashby's got duck withdrawal symptoms where we've been in the locks all day. That's like a duck. It's nice to see some open fields. Looks like Richard's pulled in, and I'm gonna pull up behind him. See what this is all about. See, I've been busy out here getting all my fuel for the winter, or our fuel. Hey Ash, yeah, you like a bit of that, didn't you, laying in front of the stove? So yeah, well, thanks everyone for coming along. It's been a long old video today. If you got this far, you're very patient, and I hope to see you on the next one.